Where will she go, and what shall she do?
Hey again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Wheel of Albums. Along with my brother Adam and our friend Jack, I'm Justin. And what we do here on Wheel of Albums is we spin a wheel of the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. And we do this. We listen to that album a few times in the week, and we get back to you and we tell you our thoughts on the album. This week we have a Banana, Velvet Underground, and Nico.
When midnight comes around.
Produced by Andy Warhol.
Guy that did the color stuff.
Holy cow, we are finally listening to one of the big acclaimed albums, and we really haven't had that yet. We've had a lot of acclaimed artists, but not their biggest album, so it was kind of exciting to see that. And the other thought I had was I get to do my Nico impersonation for Jack and Justin, so I'm super pumped about that. A hand-me-down dress from who knows where. Initially, I just was kind of like, for the many times I've heard this album, and I've never really gotten the hype or really gotten into it, I was kind of excited to dive back in and see what they had to offer one more time.
I remember not really being into the Velvet Underground and knowing that there was a very strong fan base. So I went in with a little bit of trepidation, but at least I was going to be aware of who I was dealing with, because I do like some Lou Reed solo albums.
Growing up, I really didn't know who the Velvet Underground was. Eventually figured out and learned that that was the band that Lou Reed was in. And of course, growing up, I knew Lou Reed was Lou Reed, icon, rock and roll animal. The first song I remember hearing, the Doors soundtrack, the Oliver Stone movie, Heroin was on there, used to good effect. And, that became the first song I knew. And then college, somebody had a Velvet Underground, greatest hits. So, as time went on, I gathered more information on the band. Ended up picking up this album at some point, and it's chock full of great songs and iconic songs. And besides Heroin, not to say that lightly, do you guys have a favorite iconic song from Velvet Underground and Nico?
I'm going to go with one of my favorites. I think, I'm Waiting for the Man. It's probably the biggest song and should get a lot of acclaim from the album. But I always go with There She Goes Again because, it gives the back half of the album a little levity, and it's a kick-ass song. It gets a 10 for me. And after you get through Run, Run, Run and All Tomorrow's Parties and the song Heroin, to have a little bit of levity seems to go a long way, because the second half of the album's pretty dark and harsh.
If somebody said, hey, give me a good Velvet Underground song, I would have to go with All Tomorrow's Parties. It's got a lot going on. There's constant tinkling of a piano in the background the entire time. Whether it's rhythmic or not, it's just going the whole length of the song in the background. Like the old Scooby-Doo cartoons, there's just always some music laying underneath, whether it has anything to do with the song or not. It's probably the best use of Nico's range as a singer. It lets Lou Reed's words really lay out there nicely. So I'm going to go with All Tomorrow's Parties as my standout Velvet Underground song from the entire Velvet Underground catalog.
And this is one of those albums that every time I go back and listen to it, I have a new favorite. I mean, I'm Waiting for the Man and Heroin, or, the two standards, Venus and Furs as well. All three of those are I think those are three standards. But I don't know, Sunday Morning is a pretty song, but for some reason the NFL has taken that and made it a promotion for football games here in the States, just like I'm sure Andy Warhol wanted back in 1967. So I don't know if that diminishes my love for Sunday Morning or not. This time around, All Tomorrow's Parties sounded wonderful. Sounds like summer to me. And I'll Be Your Mirror. So that's the Nico songs really perked up Justin's ears more listening, and I wonder what you guys think of Nico. How important was she to this album?
Nico seems like a forced presence on this, and she even gets her name on the title. Surprised that she was apparently a student of Lee Strasberg for acting, was taking singing lessons, acting lessons. She was a model, and I think had some hearing difficulties, which that led to consternation from Lou Reed and John Cale, because her hearing impairment caused her to sing off tune sometimes in the live performances.
She'll turn once more to Sunday's clown. I always thought her parts, the times I've heard it before, were kind of annoying, and I kind of made fun of it a little bit, but I kind of realized she does the album a service by kind of lightening the load, and giving the album kind of an extra layer. And she comes in right at the right times with Femme Fatale, and then my favorite song is All Tomorrow's Parties. And it's just, I don't think this album's as good if she's not on it. So with that, my Nico impersonation of All Tomorrow's Parties, it's what I think of every time I think of the Velvet Underground and Nico.
Let's see. So Andy Warhol was listed as a producer on this. But what does Andy Warhol really know about producing or managing a band, for that matter? I think he just getting high and hanging out with people.
Visually, I've always been a fan of his camera work, the unnecessary zoom-ins. I do that quite a bit whenever I'm directing the lifestyle show that I work at. So thank you, Andy Warhol.
Evidently, he was the manager for Velvet Underground and helped secure the recording studio, things like that. And I also found out that the original album cover you could peel back, and actually there was a pink banana under the yellow banana peel, which is kind of cool.
That guy's a lurker.
I always got the feeling that he was kind of a jerk that should shut his mouth and only paint. I guess I should go to the museum and check him out and learn a little bit more about him, because I have come to appreciate this album a lot over the last few listens I've had.
Andy Warhol being manager, Nico being recommended by Andy to sing, John Cale and his, which he's a talented off-the-wall performer, his electric viola. And then you got Lou and his, lyrics about S&M and hookers and drug deals and everything going down. From what we learned about Lou Reed on an episode in the first season, I'll put a link in it if you guys want to hear our thoughts on Transformer, was that Lou wanted to be a rock and roll star. How ridiculous is it that he started his career with all this circus going on around him? It must have drove him nuts to have all this going on. The album not selling and the song is not getting played on the radio. But at the same time, without all these ingredients, this album would not be the bona fide knockout classic that it is.
It's Venus in Furs. It has become my favorite Velvet Underground song, and it never was before. I kept wanting to listen to it, and even if it deals with S&M, I would be hard-pressed to find a song that gives the feel of New York City or what it felt like as this song. And John Cale's electric viola, God, it just perfectly sets the tone. If I had to say it, I'd say Venus in Furs is the equivalent to New York City as California Dreaming sums up the 60s and what it felt like going to California for hippie culture.
There's a lot of talent, a lot of experimenting, a lot of heroin-induced improv, a lot of showmanship. I would say, though, that the Velvet Underground hodgepodge of various instrumentation going on is more their signature than Lou Reed, because Lou Reed is Lou Reed.
We like to give everything a 1 to 10 rating. Adam crunches the numbers for us here. And for the Velvet Underground and Nico, when we take every song on here, scale 1 to 10, Adam had a score of 7.45, Jack of 5.09, and myself is 7.59. And our three favorite songs combined, All Tomorrow's Parties, Venus in Furs, and I'm Waiting for the Man is our top three. And as Jack Wood said, European Sun, that's trash. Adam, let's start with you. Velvet Underground and Nico, is this an album you must hear before you die?
When you look at the track listing and you look at all the different songs, they really encapsulated and really just hit the nail on the head of all the different things that went on in life probably in the 60s in New York City. For instance, just to go through a couple of the songs, Sunday Morning, perfect opening number, makes you feel what it probably felt like to grow up in the 60s in the suburbs. Waiting for the Man, you get the feeling of a New York City business transaction or drug transaction. Take your pick on that one. Femme fatale or fatale, different type of transaction. Those business guys always had a lady in the city. I'm looking at you, Don Draper from Mad Men. Venus and Furs, the dark side of New York City at night, run, 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 hustle and bustle of living in New York City, heroin. I think we get it, Lou, the drug side of the city, and, even European Sun. And I don't like the song, but, I'm going to say that I kind of realized it. I threw it on while I was walking the dog, and I realized it's probably the perfect sound of someone strung out on drugs trying to navigate life, walking the streets or riding the buses or riding in a taxi. So hats off to Velvet Underground and Lou Reed, and you guys did a fantastic job, and hats off to Warhol, because you did a good thing by not touching any of the dowels. The answer to that is absolutely. I never initially liked this album the times I've heard it before, but the more I've listened to it, the more it really has kind of grown on me.
I will preface this by saying that this is not my favorite Velvet Underground album. That would be their self-titled third one. This one's got 9 absolute bangers right off the bat. The last 2 you can kind of do without. This is an album you must hear before you die. They were pioneers without even really knowing they were pioneers back there in 1966 with Andy Warhol leading the cavalry. And I have fun listening to this album. It's a good time, and I enjoyed it this past week. Jack, what do you say?
When you listen to There She Goes Again, you get to even hear snippets of lyrics that he uses again later on Dirty Boulevard on the New York album with that bird and that fly, fly away. So I like this as it's part performance art, it's part actual rock and roll, it's part prefab. It's kind of like the Monkees. John Cale and Lou Reed want to be real musicians, but Andy Warhol goes, no, let's put this German model in there too. Also, let's make a bunch of noise. And then they said, you know what, Andy, we're done. We're going to be real boys. And they cut the Andy Warhol strings off. But ultimately, I'm going with no. Velvet Underground and Nico is not an album that you must listen to before you die.
All right, Jack going against the grain. 2 howls and probably 1,000 music critics would think different. But that's why we do this. We listen and we give you our opinion. We're running very short on time. I'm going to go ahead and spin the wheel for the next album. And here we go. The wheel is spinning. And let's see what we get. We get John Coltrane, A Love Supreme. We haven't had a jazz album yet. For my brother Adam and our friend Jack, I am Justin. We appreciate everyone out there that's been listening to us. And we're going to keep on chugging along with the next album, A Love Supreme, next week on Wheel of Albums.
He had to have been out taking a dump or painting or coming up with the Banana Peel album or something at that time.
I think I'd really like to see vintage Andy Warhol against present-day Jeff Goldblum, another Pittsburgh connection. Just to watch the interaction between those two will either make you so angry at your TV that you would punch it, or you would just sit there in sheer fascination that these two people are talking so much but not saying anything to each other.